Let's get started. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to our 25.1 Product Spotlight webinar. Thanks for joining us. Let me introduce our hosts and moderators. We have a wonderful group today. Julian Posada is the Associate Product Manager of Integrations. Maddie Schilling, Associate Director of AI Workflow Automation. Yuki Lam, Director of Product Data and Analytics. And Ankajin Zagundesh, Product Manager for Clinical and Mobile. In our Q&A chat, we have Jordan Freeds and myself, Amber Ledesma, from our Customer Success team, here to answer any questions you might have. So, housekeeping rules. During the webinar, we encourage active participation. If you have any questions, hit that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we will either answer your question in that box there or live. We'll get to as many questions as we can during the event. And then reminder that the session is being recorded and will be sent out to all registrants in about 2 to 3 days. So the agenda today, we're going to start with a poll about what you liked best in 2024. Julian will talk about task module enhancements. Maddie will show us NoteGuardAI and ClaimCheckAI. Yuki will talk us through the new ABI dashboards. And then Ankajin will spend a good amount of time talking about all the new stuff we have coming with CR mobile app in our February release. So we thought we would start 2025 by taking a look back at what we released in 2024. We're going to do a poll and ask you your favorite feature. So here are the 9 enhancements that were our favorites. A reminder of them. NoteGuardAI, that's the feature that audits all the documents created against a set of rules that you specify. Client payment account is our new prepayment feature. All of these recent task module enhancements, like that group visibility feature, our new public API endpoints, so exciting. The Carry AI generated narrative in CR Mobile. The 14 new ABI dashboards we released this year, like client session opportunities and accounts receivable. Our latest Schedule AI enhancements, like the ability to reoccur a schedule out through the end of the authorization with one button. That huge CR Mobile revamp we did last February, and then all the improvements we've made since. And then also way back at the beginning of the year, we redesigned Manage Connections module to make the current connections more visible. And then the contact form revamp that allowed you to do more connections at onboarding. Our 25.1 release is scheduled to go live for everybody January 30th. There is no beta release for this. There is no beta period for this release. And then our mobile release, we'll talk more about that at the end. That will come out in February. So thank you, hosts, for joining us. We're excited to learn more about what's coming up for CentralReach. And Julian, you are up first.
Hello, everyone. So for 25.1, related to task enhancements, we wanted to make task a little bit more in terms of like a workflow and be able to follow that particular flow. So what we did is now you would be able to make changes to your tasks in related to a status. So we added statuses to tasks before. If you remember, there would be upcoming or due today and whatnot. And although that's still some there in the grid, now there's actually specifically a status that you can assign to your task and you can manage them. The statuses, you have them on your screen, but you would be able to select, or by default, when you create a task, they will be in the to-do status. And then as your staff is working through them, you can change them through in progress. If there's something that's wrong with the task or something that's preventing you from moving forward, you can just mark it as blocked, and you can just move through those independently as you're working through your workflow. Additionally, if you have completed a task, you could just mark it as completed. And also, there's no deleting tasks anymore. It's in reality, it was just canceling a task. So we just changed that over to canceled. So now you would be able to track and prioritize tasks efficiently with these status updates and filters. Now the grid as well, as you can see in that screenshot at the bottom, you're able to see the actual status of the task prior to even clicking on the details of it. And then there's a status filter that you can select depending on the screen that you are, where the different statuses that you can see. That way you can have better visibility on these. All of these changes are into effect in all of the different areas where you can update or create a task. So all of this is going to be all throughout the platform in the task module and pop-ups. Now, moving on to the other task enhancement, it's a summary pop-up. So basically, when users log in for the first time each day, and making a parentheses for the users that actually have access to tasks, there's going to be a modal that will appear, basically giving them a summary of the tasks that are assigned to them, but mainly the ones that are new, the ones that are due that day, or the ones that are overdue. That's going to give them better visibility on those tasks, and they're actually going to be able to work directly on those tasks directly from that pop-up. So you see the list of tasks. If you click on, or if the employee clicks on one that it is urgent or for some reason needs an update, they can just click on it. The task is going to pop up on their screen, and they're going to be able to make modifications to it. If they complete it or whatever they do, that list is actually going to get shorter. That way, you could just complete your tasks right from the get-go as you're logging in for the first time each day. Additionally, just one small thing on that top screenshot, behind the modal pop-up, there's also one small chip with the new tasks. That's also something that we added in. Basically, it's going to be there in the employee dashboard. It's always going to give them a count of how many new tasks are in for that employee. That is it relating to task enhancements.
Great. We have a couple questions. Will the statuses apply to internal tickets, or will they only apply to like that task queue?
It will only apply to task queue, correct.
All right, thank you. And then about that pop-up feature, if you don't have any tasks assigned to you, does it pop up? And then also, like, are you only seeing the task assigned to you specifically, or also the ones that are visible to you?
Only the tasks that are assigned to you. And yes, you do get the pop-up when you don't have any new updates. It'll just tell you that there are no new updates. You could just exit out of the modal.
Great. Thanks, Julian. And I think Maddie's next.
Okay. That would have been the slide I should have been on for Julian. So today I'm going to talk about some enhancements that we made to the NoteGuardAI product. These are some feature enhancements. I'm actually going to jump in to a live demo so you can actually see my screen. But just to give a quick recap of what NoteGuardAI does. NoteGuardAI, the intention behind it is we want you to be able to audit all of your session notes. So, when we were building this product, we talked to a lot of customers, probably a lot of people who are on this webinar, and their goal was to audit, between 5 and 10% of their daily notes. With NoteGuardAI, we can get that to 100%, and we can get that to 100% very quickly. Some of the things we're looking for are like, do times and dates match? Are there goals in there? How many data points did they collect? Was the narrative written in the way my organization wants it written? If they mentioned maladaptive behaviors, were there maladaptive behaviors in the goals? Because you'd want those things in there. So with that quick recap, I'm just going to jump into the enhancements. So I am in a test account, so if you see anything super weird data-wise, just chalk it up to it being a lower test environment. So the first thing you'll notice is if you have NoteGuard, you'll see that the screen changed a little bit on the navigation. So now you'll see that it's branded the NoteGuardAI as it is. As you first land on the page, there are some enhancements to the grid all over the place. So I'll walk through a couple of them, but for the most part, you'll see them, you'll understand what's happening. The first major one is before you were clicking on like a resource ID to open the note, now there's just an explicit button that says open note. We've improved a number of key quality of life improvements. So you see here, you can sort now by client at the top grid or by provider. Now, obviously my test data, I created the same data for every client and provider is the same, but it's there. Service code, you put that on the grid so you can see it. Major improvement, now you can see and add billing labels. So if this had a billing label, you would be able to see that it has a billing label here. And if you come up to search, you can see all the items that you can now search and filter by. So client, provider, payer, service code, specific billing entries. So if you're on the billing screen and you want to jump back over to this screen and you want to find a specific billing entry, you can do that by just drop it in the billing entry search. Service code labels, billing labels, and contact labels. There's yet another filter that is very powerful for some of our larger organizations that have a lot of templates. So when we onboard NoteGuardAI, you might have 3 templates, you might have 35 templates. And whose job to review the audit results might be template specific. You have a direct therapy template and you have a supervision. Those roles might be different. So what users asked us for is, let me be able to filter by these specific templates. And with that, you can. So if I were to come over in here and grab one of my QA templates, I'd be able to apply this filter. And now I only see notes that belong to that template type. Some other very cool things we did. Again, this is test data, but you can see on this full screen experience, we've added some buttons if you're not familiar with this. So we have a rule here that is looking for duplicate narratives. So if the provider wrote a narrative that is identical, like this is 100% identical, we used to just give you a link to the billing entry that contained the note. So you'd have to jump through 3 or 4 hoops to find the note. With this button, you can just hit compare, and now you see both notes side by side. So you see the original note on right here, and then you see the linked resource over here, and you can scroll independently to compare the documents, because if you want to, visually understand what's duplicate about them, we have other rules that are similar. So that's another rule that would be very useful to be able to see them side by side, because we have a similarity score in a different rule. Okay, let me see. Did I cover everything? So yeah, being able to sort by columns, being able to filter in the filters here. You can obviously save filters, which is existing, but it's all very much intended to help maximize the efficiency of the screen. And I did miss being able to apply billing labels can be done on both the grid in bulk and on the individual note while you're on there. Okay, with that, I'm going to jump back over to my slide real quick and go over to ClaimCheckAI. So ClaimCheckAI, this is a new feature that we're launching, and you'll see the visuals are very similar to NoteGuardAI. But with ClaimCheckAI, the first phase, the goal is to automate the review of billing entries before they get claimed out. We want to be able to handle 100% of that initial scrubbing process that you guys are going through manually, like making sure the claim settings are filled out, making sure it's not a pending authorization, or making sure all the data that could be missing in the system is actually intact and there and in the right format. With that goal in mind, that'll reduce a lot of time you spent looking for issues. You just come to this screen, the issues will be there for you to review and resolve, and then go on with your billing experience. This seamlessly integrates within Enterprise. You're not going to different platforms or anything. It just, you wake up in the morning, you'll have a new audit screen of issues that the system found that you can go in and correct. Additionally, there's some beautiful dashboards that you'll look at a little later. So to jump into a live demo of the screen, you'll see here ClaimCheckAI. What you'll see here is only billing entries that we found an issue with. And with that, if there's a task associated with that billing entry, you'll see it already. Labels will be visible from the billing screen. Additionally, ClaimCheckAI can automatically apply labels. So if you have specific labels for specific situations, they will already be put into the system. But if I were to expand this chevron, again, this is test data, so don't hold me too accountable for the words in here, but you'll see some of the words or some of the rules that we're running. So MUEs, we're taking the aggregate of that code and provider and seeing if it exceeds the maximum amount. So you get 32 on some codes, 16 on others. You can configure that per payer, per situational rule. Valid authorization number. So, you might be in a pre-auth state, but you might be converting. It might be a pending authorization. We have the rules and whatnot to be able to find that and make sure that it's, sequestered for you. So you're not billing that until that authorization number comes in, or just updated on the authorization. So in here, you get a lot of the nice normal things you get on the billing screen. You can also go ahead and create a task, label things, resolve or ignore things if there are issues that you intend to either fix at the claim level or you've updated it. This does update nightly. So we're automatically always looking at new billing entries and changes to billing entries. So if you do fix it, this will disappear the next night if it's already resolved. And then if you need to, you can come in here and go right to edit timesheet, which will just open the timesheet as you see fit. So with that, I believe I covered the most of it. There's also some additional filters in here because at CentralReach, you need at least 11 filters to do any tasks. So if you want to say, I don't want to look at anything with the claims created or an invoice created, then obviously I don't want to see deleted billing entries because what am I going to do with them? You can also go in and look at specific rules. So like maybe I care a lot about, MUEs or the authorization number being invalid. So I can bulk label those and just, get those resolved. And then save the filter as needed. Additionally, whatever you see up here in search is what you're able to search for and filter. So very similar to the NoteGuard screen, billing labels, service code labels, contacts, payers, etc. You'll be able to go and filter for. And then pretty much any enhancement that I talked about on the NoteGuard screen is also available here. So being able to sort by these top level rows here, or being able to hover over and filter out the service code, all available. All right, gonna pause right there. I think the next screen is questions. There we go.
All right. Okay. You can save filters in the NoteGuard and the claim check screens, yes?
That is correct.
Excellent. In claim check, is that checking every billing entry or just those where a claim has been generated?
So it is called claim check, but it is the pre-claim check. So we are looking at billing entries, and if you think of the implementation process, we are implementing kind of payer by time, because while payers are mostly the same, they're also mostly different. So we're looking at the things that your payer cares about to make sure that the claim is in the state that it needs to be from the billing entry perspective. So, all the fields for provider, supplier, facility, billing, all those fields are filled out and they have the requisite data. So it is scrubbing the billing entries, making sure there's no unconverted appointments for that day, etc. So the idea is by the time claim check runs and it approves what is needing to be approved, that billing entry will need no further edits to make a good claim.
Excellent. Okay. Question about tasks. So if I had NoteGuard running and claim check running, and I made a task from NoteGuard, will that task show in the claim check task? Because it is the same billing entry.
So there's a little nuance there. For NoteGuard, the intent is that is more of a compliance audit screen. So all the tasks that originate in NoteGuard are only visible on the NoteGuard screen. So if it's created on the NoteGuard screen, that task in that widget, I can actually just show it over here. The tasks here, you will see them. They'll be available in the task module, but this screen is not pulling in additional billing entry tasks, which is different than the claim check. This one is showing you all tasks related to that billing entry. So it's largely because in billing, you wouldn't want to hide any tasks here that belong to the billing entry. So in short, claim check will show you all related tasks to the billing entry. The NoteGuard screen are only showing you tasks related to NoteGuard tasks.
Okay, thank you. And that's all the questions we have there. So Yuki, let's talk about ABI.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna steal the screen here.
Hey, let's steal it.
I so my friend can see my screen fine. Okay, so let's talk about advanced BI. Keep in mind, in order to get any of the feature enhancement that I'm going to mention today, you will need an additional subscription to ABI. Once you have the ABI subscription, everything that I covered today, there's no additional cost. For 25.1, we are going to have 3 new dashboard and 1 updated dashboard. So let's get to the detail. Okay, so the first one that we're going to have is going to be around ClaimCheckAI. As Maddie just mentioned, lots of really great feature coming with this new product for ClaimCheckAI. So on the ABI side, we want to make sure that we put all this data into ABI and be able to show you the trend and be able to see like, okay, what is going on. So actually, this is one of the exceptions that like for organization only have ClaimCheckAI and don't have ABI, we are going to make an exception and you will be able to get this one dashboard as part of your ClaimCheckAI subscription. So that is kind of like the only thing that, is different. But if you have both ClaimCheckAI as well as the ABI, then you will get everything. So let's talk about like what we are trying to do with this dashboard. We, as Maddie mentioned, every single night, all the claim or all the billing entry will be reprocessed, and then you will see the latest audit report. But, which is great, you know exactly what you need to kind of change or what you need to fix right now. But we don't want to lose any of the historical information, because this is where hopefully we can learn from our lessons. Like, okay, great, we fixed everything, but you know what? Ultimately, we want to get to the point that like we don't make those mistakes, or like we don't have those issues to begin with. So this is where the historical trend, especially your original initial audit information, will become very handy and important. So we base on your initial audit, and then we start doing a lot of the trending to see like, hey, what kinds of issue are you seeing the most? Is there specific location? Is it going to be payer specific? So you know what kind of target, like training or plan that you can make in order to avoid those mistake or like those issues surface up again in the future billing entry, and then be able to kind of estimate what kinds, what is the potential agreed charges, your revenue that is at risk on the line with all this issue that we are finding. And then we'll also have a second session to look at the most recent one. So again, I'm sure it is, you want to know like, okay, I know this is all the things that we have fixed, but how about right now? How many more things do I need to fix? Is there a certain area that I need to fix more than the other? So we will have both view available for you to see. So this is going to be available as part of the 25.1, will be the same release as the ClaimCheckAI. Perfect. Okay, so next we are going to have another new dashboard on staff utilization. So if you haven't been on our last webinar, which is for the 24.12 December release, we have actually released the data cube at that point, and then now we're releasing the associate dashboard. So let's talk a little bit about like why are we doing it, in case you missed it in the last one. So when we are looking at like authorization utilization, a lot of time I would say there is three legs of the stool. There is how many hours the payer is being kind of authorized for you. So let's say you get authorized for 30 hours per week. But then in reality, how many hours can the parent actually bring the kid to your organization? So that become your client accepted hours. And then another third leg of the stool is how many hours can you actually support with your staffing right now? So this is like kind of the third piece of information for you to really have the 360-degree view of like the health of all your organization. So we want to start estimating like what is your staff true availability, like what is the available hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to take two pieces of information from the platform. One is availability, which is under, I believe, setting for each of your employee. And then we are going to also use the scheduling preferences. For those who is not familiar, it is a relatively newer field that we have created last year, which is under extended profile. And if you have any question where to find it, please contact your CSL. They will be able to kind of show you. We basically take this two pieces of information, we find the lesser of the two. So let's say in one place it said each week you have 40 hours available, while the other place say 35. We'll take the 35 to be conservative and then from there, we'll look at your work hours, your schedule hours. So depending on if we are looking at a more retrospective look or we're looking at more future look, then to estimate what is your staff utilization rate. And then from there, as usual, you'll be able to see all the detail. You'll be able to see all the trend, which provider is being highly utilized, which one is not. Has that been the case consistently? One thing that I will also encourage everyone, if you have not been capturing your non-billable hours, like meaning like converting into billing entry, I will highly recommend you to start considering it. Because think about like if you have a 30 hours work week, but 5 of the hours actually is for meeting, for training, for lunch, which you're not capturing. So your staff will constantly look like they're underutilizing, because they will only have like 80-something% utilization just because of that 5 hours not being captured there. Again, if you need any help in terms of how to operationalize any of these changes, please contact your CSL. They are great, lots of experience in this area, will be able to help you through. The other things that we'll include in this dashboard is to point out what kinds of cancellation is happening during that period of time too. So a lot of time, if you see your provider being underutilized, then the logical next question would be, is there a lot of cancellation, no matter it is initiated by the provider or the client? You want to see, like, is it because of that we are not able to kind of fill up the last minute cancellation, or what is going on? So we want to have that third piece of information there just for your references. So I'm excited to see this dashboard coming out, and hopefully that will be valuable for all of you. Okay, the next new dashboard is going to be unit-based authorization utilization. For those who are familiar with ABI, probably already know that we have two authorization dashboard on utilization already. One is for hour-based, the other one is visit-based. Of course, visit-based usually is more for multidiscipline organization that have OT, PT, speech therapy, while the hour-based is more for the ABA authorization. And I recognize the fact that a lot of the organization sometimes don't use hours as their denominator, but more units, since a lot of the authorization originally is being requested by unit. Especially when you do billing, it's actually all by unit. So we want to make sure that we have similar functionality, but just looking at it by unit. So we created a new data cube, a new dashboard, be very similar to what we have in the hour base. So we basically prorate everything. If you have authorization with 600 units for 6 months, then we prorate it and say, okay, each month you will have 100 units, and then each week, if you do math, then like you go down to each day. So you can look at any time period and say that, like, okay, for the prorated unit, have you been using it up? Are you on track of using up all your authorization? And which is very similar to what we do on the hour-based one, but now we're just using it for unit. So this is another highly requested dashboard that we're going to roll out in January. Okay, the last one that I have is an update. So at the end of last year in Q4, we have released a new dashboard called ABA value-based quality measure. Within it, there's several different domains looking at different areas, from operational, financial to clinical, like metric. And then so for this release, we're going to add one more domain, which is going to be around session productivity. We basically want to measure the average number of learning opportunities being captured per session hours. So it will then give you kind of a trend in terms of like the productivity of overall the session. And there will, if you want to do a deep dive, there will be two other dashboards that is already available, which is the client or provider clinical opportunity, which will allow you to do a deep dive, and you can slice and dice however you want to look at one specific provider or one specific client in terms of like how many opportunity they capture for every single session. And we also will break down the information between the behavior reduction target and the skill acquisition on the non-specific, depending on if you have added domain. So in order for us to know if the target is behavior reduction, we base on the domain information. So if you have set up domain for that target, then we'll know if there's a behavior reduction or not. So I'm excited to have this added and make the dashboard be more robust. Awesome. I think that is all I have. Another reminder for ABI, we'll continue our ABI webinar series. So in February 6th, we are going to have another one, which is going to focus on multidiscipline reporting. So if you're interested, here is the QR code for the registration.
Excellent. Thanks, Yuki. Couple questions. If I don't have ABI, but I get the ClaimCheckAI, can I still see that dashboard?
Yes, you will be able to see the ClaimCheckAI dashboard, but not any other one.
Excellent. When you're talking about authorizations, can you remind us what prorated means?
So prorated meaning, for example, if you have 1,000 hours or 1,000 unit across 6 months, most of the time how you come up with kind of that number in the authorization is you're expecting that certain number that you would do per week. So we basically prorate those number across to each day. so that like we can keep track of like, are you on track of using up those data? So for example, or using up those hours or unit. So for example, in the earlier session, I mentioned like, okay, if you have 600 units across 6 months, most of the time you don't expect to use 500 units all in the first month. You basically pace yourself and then like go accordingly. So this is how we prorate it.
Excellent. Great explanation. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to CR Mobile. We're going to start with a poll about if your organization is using CR Mobile or not. So we'll pop that up there. Okay, just take a minute and answer that so we have that information, frame of reference. Thank you. And then Ankajan is going to start talking about our 25.2 CR Mobile release. This is specific to CR Mobile app, and that is planned for February. It's a pretty big release, so we're giving her a bunch of time here to talk about the new exciting features.
All right. Thanks, Amber. Thank you for the responses. Very interesting. I see that we have people in many different stages of adopting CR Mobile. So really good numbers to consider. Thank you. All right. So version 25.2 for mobile is going to be another major, very exciting release full of enhancements and much requested feature requests. So this first one here about this new permission, as you may be aware, CR Mobile captures the actual start and end time of an appointment. Today, any user completing a non-EVV appointment in CR Mobile can edit this actual start and end time. We are introducing this new permission under CR Mobile that will control if the users can adjust this app captured start or end time. This permission will be on as a default to ensure your current workflows are not interrupted. So once 25.2 comes out, your users will continue to be able to edit the non-EVV appointment times, but you'll have this flexibility to go in and disable this permission, so the start and end times will always be as captured and the user cannot edit it on the app. The EVV functionality on mobile is unaffected by this feature, so that'll continue working as it is today. Very exciting feature. This one is an alert. We've been hearing from a lot of the organizations that there's currently no safeguards in terms of users forgetting to end their appointment, leading to incorrect durations, billing entries, and then there's the admin burden to correct them. We've implemented this new pop-up that shows up to the user if the user ends the appointment with more than 7 minutes of discrepancy as compared to the scheduled duration. Users can edit the start and end time right within this alert before proceeding to summary screen. And hopefully with this new opportunity, you'll start seeing less duration discrepancies and errors. We've made multiple enhancements on the calendar screen. First of all, the web to mobile sync is now faster than ever. After making changes on web, users on mobile can expect to refresh their appointments almost immediately and see those changes. The refresh is triggered by pulling down the appointments instead of finding that widget on top of the screen. There's a new incomplete appointment status that helps better distinguish the appointments that are still running versus those appointments in that complete later state waiting to be finalized. Additionally, we have, once the appointment is started on mobile, the calendar view on mobile will update the appointment time based on the actual start and end time, more consistent with the timesheet resulting from this appointment. Keep in mind that the schedule module on the web platform will not reflect this. It will continue to show the schedule time. This changes only on mobile. This one is about continuing on the summary screen and appointment time enhancements. The appointment times on the summary screen now consistently show with the service codes. Whether you have one code or multiple codes, it consistently shows in the same format. Users can easily just click into the field to change the time instead of the double click that they need to do. We also are now showing the scheduled duration along with the actual duration to help guide the users on the scheduled duration. We made the changing of services much more prominent and easy to access. We are also now allowing users to complete those cross-day appointments. So if the users leave the session running inadvertently, they come back to it next day, they no longer have to go to web and correct these entries. They can edit the time right within mobile and complete those appointments as well. All right. Moving on to enhancements on data collection. The ABC data collection form is now accessed right within the branches where available. Both in net and pinned views, the user will see the ABC icon right in the card, and they can click on it to access the form. The behaviors are then pre-selected for an easier interaction with this form. Consistent with the sessions on web, users can see the last 3 prompts used in the details screen of prompting data types. Redesigned video view. We've redesigned the resource video view to make sure that users, when they play the video plays on top half of the screen, and the users can still interact on bottom half of the screen if they still need to continue taking data. They can also minimize the view out of their view, and they can easily access it back from top banner of the screen, so they can resume the video if they would like. Session note improvements. We've paid a lot of attention to the session notes this time around. We are supporting the at least one required requirement. With that, we are grouping session notes clearly by the requirement. So if you have multiple different requirements, users can easily see and distinguish between those requirements. We made multiple improvements to the session note form itself, so you'll see a lot of consistency and better user interaction. For example, if the user has made inadvertent selection on yes, no, or single select fields, they can easily clear that selection and start over. We've removed some unactionable sections out of the workflow so that the users are not confused by many different error messages. And we've made sure that those error messages are very specific to the user, so they know exactly what actions to take. And some updates on the signatures. We now support the saved signatures as set up in the organizational and employee signature settings. We are also including the provider credentials with hand-drawn signatures to be more compliant with specific payer requirements. The client and provider signature attestations, as set up in the organizational signature settings, will be displayed on the corresponding client and provider signatures on mobile. The user will have to check these attestations to complete the workflow, and these are custom set by the organization. Okay, and lastly, for NoteGuard customers using the NoteDraft.ai feature in mobile, we have made few improvements here. First of all, if the session note contains the AI-assisted session summary feature, the AI narrative will show at the very bottom of the screen to make sure that users can go through all of the required fields and then get to generate the narrative. Not to worry, on your final PDF, the session summary is always at the place you've set your template to be. This changes only on the user view on mobile. If the AI-assisted service is interrupted, or if the user's offline after 2 failed attempts to generate the AI-assisted narrative, the users now have option to write the session narrative manually and complete their workflow even when they're offline, so they don't have to wait for the service to come back to finalize those appointments. And this is an additional subscription to NoteGuard, only available to those customers. That is all for improvements. I know we've went through a lot of improvements. I just wanted to assure that when version 25.2 comes out and users upgrade to version 25.2, the users will see a view of all of these enhancements in summary, as well as these screenshots, so they will know about all of these new features as well right in the app. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Great. We have a couple mobile questions. Just wanted to say to start off with, CR Mobile is a free product. It's included with your PM and clinical subscription, so there's no additional charge to using CR Mobile as is. The Carrie-generated AI summary, that's an additional charge, but that's completely optional. So Inkagen, if I have EVV turned on, will that new permission, does that allow them to adjust the times for EVV appointments too?
No, it does not. The permission does not apply to EVV appointments at all.
Great. And then a couple questions about that pop-up and the duration mismatch. You said it's at 7 minutes. Why was that number picked?
It's based on the new billing time, so we want to make sure the duration pop-up only shows when the change is impactful to billing. So we don't want the users to be burdened when there's 1 or 2 minute changes, because that can happen.
So because units are typically 7 minutes, units are typically 15 minutes, and the 7 or 8 minutes is the change in rounding rules. That's why that number was picked.
Right.
Wonderful. And when are we expecting this release again?
The app will be available to users starting the first week of February, and by mid-February, all users will have the new version.
Excellent. All right, and I think that's the end of our questions. So thank you, team. It's always great to hear about these updates. We really appreciate it. Thank you, attendees, for your questions and your attention. A follow-up email will be sent to everybody in about 2 to 3 days. That will include a recording of the session. And as you leave, please just take a minute to answer the short survey, because it helps us prepare for next time. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.